Gentlemen, traders, speculators, and students of this great game we play, listen closely. What I tell you is not theory, not borrowed wisdom, not words meant to decorate the air. It is born of years in the pit, of money won and lost, of nights without sleep, of the market teaching me its law in the hardest way possible. The law is simple. If you disobey it, you pay. If you respect it, you live to fight another day. And that law is this: cut your losses, let your profits run. There is nothing else more important in speculation. Most men do the opposite. That is why they never last. They cling to their losses like a drowning man clings to a stone. And they sell their profits as though they were afraid of good fortune. They protect the wrong side of the ledger. They hope when they should fear, and they fear when they should hope. And the market punishes hope in the face of loss, and it rewards courage in the face of gain. The market has no sympathy for human weakness. It has no patience for excuses. It deals in results. Either you respect its discipline, or you perish. I learned this lesson with my own blood. There were days when I sat in front of the tape and saw a stock go against me. I told myself, "It will turn." I whispered it again and again like a prayer. The stock did not hear me. The tape never prays. The market never listens. It moved lower and lower, and I sat there, stubborn as a mule, holding on, waiting, hoping. Every point down was another knife. Every tick against me was another reminder that I had chosen to argue with the one thing that cannot be argued with. By the time I accepted the truth, the loss was ruinous. And why? Because I failed to cut. Because I believed my opinion mattered more than the market's verdict. There is no greater folly. A speculator's first duty is to preserve capital. Without capital, you are out of the game. The market will always offer opportunities tomorrow, next week, next month, but only if you are still standing. I tell you this with all the force I can. If a trade shows you it is wrong, take the small loss. Take it quickly, take it cleanly, take it without regret. A small loss is like a scratch. It heals and you move on. A big loss is a wound that weakens you for the next battle, sometimes so badly that you cannot return. But cutting losses is only half of the law. The other half is harder, because it demands you fight against your own nature. When a trade goes in your favor, your instinct is to grab it. You fear it will slip away. You fear the profit will evaporate, so you snatch it at the first opportunity. That is the coward's way. That is the way of small winnings and large losses. I tell you, when you are right, sit tight. Do not be eager to collect crumbs when the feast is still being laid. A big move does not finish in a day. A great trend carries far beyond the imagination of the timid. Your duty when you are right is to ride it. Stay with it until the market itself tells you the run is over. I have watched many traders. They had intelligence, they had courage, they had information. And yet they failed, every one of them, because they would not obey this law. They let their losses grow roots, and they cut their profits at the stem. It is the way of most men, and most men fail. A few learn, and they learn only by pain. The lesson is never free. The market is a teacher without mercy. You will repeat the same mistake until you bleed enough to remember. I was no different. Every time I thought myself cleverer than the law, the market reminded me otherwise. It showed me that my stubbornness was arrogance, my hope was weakness, my quick profit taking was fear, and each reminder was expensive. That is why I speak to you now, to save you the tuition I paid. Think of a trade like a soldier in battle. A losing trade is a deserter. He has betrayed you. He is no longer fighting for you. He is fighting against you. Shoot him on the spot. Do not let him linger in your camp, poisoning morale. A winning trade is a loyal soldier. He is conquering ground for you. Reward him by letting him fight. Keep him supplied. Let him advance until the battle is truly over. That is how campaigns are won. But do not misunderstand me. This is not recklessness. This is not gambling. Cutting losses and letting profits grow is not about wild hope or blind faith. It is about discipline. It is about listening to the market instead of your emotions. It is about realizing that the market is always right, and you are always only an opinion. Your opinion does not matter. The market pays no man for his opinion. It pays only for being right and being disciplined. Do you know what ruins most traders? It is not bad information. It is not crooked markets. It is not lack of capital. It is themselves, their own minds, their own fears, their own hopes. They think they are speculating, but they are gambling with their emotions. They double down on losses because they cannot admit error. They cash out winners because they cannot endure uncertainty. And slowly, surely, they destroy themselves. The market did not kill them. They killed themselves by refusing to obey the one true law. I have always said that speculation is not a business for weak men. It demands the hardest thing of all, self-mastery. To cut a loss quickly, without hesitation, demands courage. To let a profit ride while every nerve in your body screams to take it, demands patience. Courage and patience. These are rare qualities. That is why successful speculators are rare. But they can be cultivated if you understand the necessity. If you remind yourself every hour of every day that cutting losses and letting profits grow is not a suggestion, not an idea. It is the law. Let me tell you a story. I remember being in a stock that had been good to me. It moved exactly as I expected. I was sitting on a handsome profit. Then one morning, it opened lower. My instinct was to sell at once, to grab what I had before it disappeared. But I forced myself to wait. I told myself, has the trend broken? Has the market given me a sell signal? The answer was no. The move was not finished, I held. And within days the stock surged higher, far beyond what I would have taken. That one act of discipline doubled my profit. And yet it was the hardest thing in the world. To do nothing, to hold, to let it grow. Doing nothing when every voice inside you screams for action is the true test of a speculator. In contrast, I can tell you of another time, when I held a loser. I convinced myself it would turn. I convinced myself the stock was too good, the price too low, the decline too irrational. I held on, and the decline continued, until the loss was enormous. I sold at last broken, and the market showed me no pity. That one act of stubbornness destroyed weeks of work. The lesson is clear: do not argue with the tape. The tape is never wrong. The market is never wrong. Your duty is not to be right, but to obey. So I say again, cut your losses, grow your profits. Write it on your wall. Repeat it like a prayer. Burn it into your memory until it is instinct. When you trade, make it your first thought. If you hesitate, you are lost. If you delay, you are doomed. Act at once when you are wrong, and be still when you are right. Do not let greed blind you either. Letting profits grow does not mean being reckless. Does not mean ignoring the market's signals. It means you trail your stop, you protect yourself, but you give the trade room to breathe. You do not choke it in infancy. You do not strangle it out of fear. You ride it like a horse until it tires. And when it tires, you dismount with thanks, not with regret. And do not think this law applies only to stocks, or to commodities, or to currencies. It applies to every form of speculation. It applies to life itself. When something is working, nurture it, let it grow, give it your patience. When something is failing, cut it off, walk away. Do not waste your strength on a lost cause. The principle is universal. The market is only its sharpest teacher. Traders often ask me, when should I sell? When should I buy? They expect me to give them numbers, points, charts. I tell them, the answer is simple: sell when you are wrong, buy when you are right. The market itself tells you everything you need to know. If you listen, you will hear it. If you refuse, you will pay. The tape whispers the truth to anyone willing to hear it. But most men listen only to themselves, and so they are deaf to the market's voice. I will leave you with this thought: the great fortunes in speculation are not made by those who are always right. They are made by those who cut their losses short and let their winners ride. That is all. It is not brilliance. It is not secret information. It is obedience to the law. I have seen fools make fortunes by obeying it, and I have seen geniuses go broke by defying it. The law does not care who you are. It cares only whether you obey. So remember, when you put on a trade, you are putting yourself under the market's law. Respect it. Cut your losses quickly. Grow your profits patiently. Do this and you will survive. Fail to do it and you will perish. There is no middle path. And if you doubt me, then by all means learn it for yourself. The market will teach you. It will teach you with losses so sharp, you will not forget. But if you are wise, you will hear my words and save yourself the tuition. There is no other way to play this game. No other rule worth more than this. Cut your losses. Grow your profits. Now go and trade, and remember, the law is the law. Obey it, and you may win. Break it, and you are finished. The market pays for discipline, not cleverness. You must understand this truth in your bones before you can ever hope to win in speculation. Men step into the market full of pride in their intellect, proud of their clever schemes, proud of the angles they think only they have seen. They spend their nights inventing new methods, new theories, new twists on an old game. They arrive in the morning convinced that brilliance alone will hand them riches. The market welcomes them all the same, then strips them bare without a moment's hesitation. For cleverness is a costume, discipline is armor. The market will always pierce through a costume. Only armor holds. The reason is simple: the market does not care for ingenuity. It does not reward fancy words or complicated theories. It does not pay a man for being smart. It pays only for being right, and for staying right long enough to collect. You may be the sharpest thinker alive, but if you lack the discipline to act when you are wrong, or the discipline to stay with a position when you are right, your brilliance will be wasted. The graveyard of speculation is filled with clever men who thought their intelligence gave them an edge greater than obedience to rules. They believed the market would bow to their knowledge. The market bows to no one. Consider what discipline means. Discipline is the ability to do the hard thing, the unnatural thing, the thing your instincts fight against. Discipline is selling when every fiber of your pride screams to hold. Discipline is holding when your nerves scream to sell. Discipline is standing aside when the crowd rushes in, and acting when the crowd recoils in fear. There is nothing clever in this. It is not invention. It is not brilliance. It is plain, unglamorous obedience to necessity. The clever man resists this, for he thinks his wit can replace it. The disciplined man accepts it, and he wins. Every trader eventually discovers that knowledge alone is not enough. Charts, numbers, theories, predictions, these are tools. They are useless in the hands of a man without control over himself. What destroys him is not lack of knowledge, but lack of discipline. He knows he should cut a loss, yet he waits. He knows he should ride a profit, yet he grabs it. He knows he should not overtrade, yet he plunges in again. He knows everything but obeys nothing. Clever, yes. Successful, no. Think of the man who invents complicated formulas for when to enter a trade. He spends months developing them, believing he has found a secret key. But when the market turns against him, he does not follow his own stop. He delays, he excuses, he bends his own rules. What use is his formula now? He has betrayed it. His cleverness cannot save him. Discipline could have, but he lacked it. Or take the fellow who is quick to boast of his winning trades. He shows you charts and tells you how early he entered, how sharp he was to spot the opportunity. But when you ask him how he handled his losing trades, he grows quiet. He hides them, or worse, he still holds them. His clever entry is worthless if he lacks the discipline to exit. His boosting reveals his weakness. The market will expose it soon enough. The disciplined man, by contrast, makes no show of brilliance. He does not invent complicated reasons for his trades. He does not seek applause. His rules are simple, even obvious, but he follows them as if they were law carved in stone. He takes his small losses without a word. He sits with his winners without restlessness. He does not care for the crowd's opinion or for the thrill of being clever. He cares only for survival and profit. And in the end, he prospers. Why is discipline so hard? Because it requires a man to master himself, and nothing is harder. Cleverness comes cheap, self-mastery comes dear. It is easy to be intelligent. It is hard to act against your own fear and greed. Every man feels the sting of loss, the anxiety of holding, the rush of profit. The undisciplined man yields to these feelings. The disciplined man conquers them. He acts not on emotion but on rule. And this is why the market pays him. The clever man tries to conquer the market. He tries to outwit it, to trap it, to second-guess it. He believes his brain is sharper than the crowd, sharper than the tape, sharper than history. For a while he may succeed. Fortune smiles on everyone for a season. But eventually the market delivers a blow that tests more than intelligence. It tests character. And at that moment, the clever man fails. The disciplined man endures. That is the difference. You can see this truth written in every great trend, every panic, every mania. In the early stages, the clever traders rush in and rush out, taking small bites, congratulating themselves on their foresight. But when the real move comes, when prices run far beyond the imagination, only the disciplined traders hold their ground. They sit while others fidget. They wait while others grab. They endure the corrections, the rumors, the doubts, because their discipline tells them the trend is intact. When it is over, they are the ones who reap the fortune. The clever men are left with crumbs, still bragging about how sharp they were to catch the first move, never admitting they missed the real feast because they lacked the strength to sit. The same is true in loss. A clever man can invent endless reasons why his position is still sound, why the decline is temporary, why the market is wrong. His intelligence supplies him with excuses. His discipline, if he had any, would have told him to sell at once. The disciplined man sells. The clever man waits, argues, rationalizes, until his account is wrecked. He was clever enough to know better, but not disciplined enough to act. If you want proof, look not at words but at records. The clever talk endlessly. The disciplined show their accounts. The market keeps the score honestly. It records every failure of discipline, every betrayal of rule, every surrender to fear. It is there in black and white, undeniable. The market is the great judge, and its verdict is final. Cleverness loses. Discipline wins. So you must ask yourself, do you want to be thought clever, or do you want to make money? Because you cannot have both. The clever man earns admiration for a time. His friends marvel at his quick trades, his bold predictions. But admiration does not pay margin calls. The disciplined man earns no admiration at first, for he looks dull, methodical, unimaginative. Yet over time his account grows. His fortune becomes undeniable. The clever man fades from the game, the disciplined man remains. You will notice something else. Discipline brings peace of mind. Cleverness breeds turmoil. The clever man is always chasing, always scheming, always anxious that his next idea may fail. The disciplined man is calm. He has rules, and he obeys them. He accepts small losses without torment. He accepts waiting without unease. His path is not easy, but it is steady. And steadiness is rare in speculation. There are always new theories, new tools, new strategies. They are dressed in the garments of cleverness. Traders rush to them, hoping for a shortcut. But every tool, every method, every chart still requires the same foundation discipline. Without it, they are useless. A man without discipline could be handed the finest system in the world, and he would still ruin himself. A man with discipline could trade a simple rule and make a fortune. The system does not matter. The discipline does. Remember this. The market does not test how smart you are. It tests how strong you are against yourself. Intelligence is common, discipline is rare, and the market pays only for the rare. Small losses are tuition, big losses are ruin. Every man who ever speculated has paid tuition to the market. There is no escaping it. You will pay in money, in time, in effort, in sleepless nights. The only choice you have is whether you pay a small tuition that teaches you to survive, or whether you let it grow into a ruinous cost that forces you out of the game altogether. The market charges its fees without mercy. It does not wait for your readiness. It does not consider your pride. It does not care whether you can afford it. But like any great school, the lessons are worth more than the fee, if you have the sense to learn them before the price becomes too high. The trouble is that most men do not want to pay small tuition. They fight against it. They treat every small loss as an insult, as proof of failure, as something to be denied. They would rather let it grow, because admitting it early wounds their pride. They hope the market will turn, that their mistake will disappear, that they can escape without paying. But the market is not a forgiving teacher. It waits until the debt grows so large that the payment becomes unbearable. What might have been the price of a few coins becomes the price of everything. The difference between the man who survives And the man who is ruined is not whether he takes losses, but how he takes them. The survivor accepts small losses as the natural cost of learning, as the price of doing business. He takes them quickly, without hesitation, without excuses. He regards them as tuition, no more shameful than paying for a book or a class. The ruined man refuses. He clings to his pride and lets the market charge him interest on his denial, compounding until the account is drained. You must understand that small losses are not only inevitable, they are essential. They are the market's way of correcting you, of pointing out that you are wrong before you destroy yourself. They are feedback, signals, warnings. Each small loss teaches something, if not about the stock, then about your own weakness. They show you where your judgment erred, where your discipline faltered, where your emotions betrayed you. Without them, you could never improve. It is impossible to imagine a speculator who does not take small losses. He would be like a student who never answered a question wrong. Such a man has never truly been tested. But big losses are different. They are not tuition. They are punishment. They are not lessons. They are sentences. A big loss does not simply teach you. It cripples you. It consumes not just your capital, but your confidence, your ability to act in the future. After a big loss, you hesitate on the next trade. You doubt yourself. You see ghosts in every movement of the tape. Worse, you may grow reckless, desperate to recover quickly, and plunge into another ruinous mistake. A big loss is a poison that seeps into your system, leaving scars that may never heal. That is why you must never let small losses grow into big ones. I have known men who could have been great speculators, if only they had learned this difference. They had skill, they had courage, they had understanding of the game, but they would not accept the small fee. They would not pay tuition. They resented every small loss, and because they refused to take it, the market forced them to pay the larger one. Again and again, they held on, and again, they were crushed. In the end, they were driven from the market, not because they lacked intelligence, but because they lacked humility. There is a story I remember of a trader who once said to me, "I cannot bear to be wrong." That man was doomed. He thought being wrong was a disgrace, something to be hidden, something to deny. But in speculation, being wrong is nothing. It is a fact of life. Every man is wrong half the time or more. What matters is not being wrong, but how much it costs you when you are wrong. A small loss is the proper cost. A big loss is unnecessary ruin. That man could not accept the small loss, so he kept his trades until they became catastrophes. The market taught him the lesson, but it took everything he had before he learned it. It is better to think of small losses as investments. Each one buys you information. Each one buys you discipline. Each one buys you survival. Without them, you cannot stay in the market long enough to catch the great move, the one that pays for all the tuition and more. If you treat them as natural, if you take them without bitterness, they will never grow heavy. But if you fight them, if you pretend they are unacceptable, they will swell into monsters that devour you whole. Men often say they want certainty before acting. They want a trade that cannot fail. They forget there is no such thing. The market promises nothing. Every trade is a chance, a risk. If you enter with the illusion that you cannot lose, then when you do lose, you will not be able to accept it. You will cling to the illusion until it destroys you. Far better to enter every trade with the knowledge that a small loss is the likely price. Accept it in advance, and you will have no trouble taking it. Refuse to accept it, and you will learn the hard way that the price grows higher with every tick against you. I say to you plainly, your greatest enemy is not the loss itself, but your unwillingness to accept it. A small loss cannot kill you. It cannot even cripple you. It is like a scratch on the skin. But if you refuse to treat it, if you ignore it, it festers. It grows into infection, into fever, into death. So it is with trades. Treat the wound while it is small, or prepare to be carried off the field. Speculation is a business of probabilities, not certainties. No system, no method, no mind can avoid being wrong. That is why you must treat small losses as expenses, not disasters. They are part of the business. A merchant does not close his shop because he must pay rent. A manufacturer does not weep because he must pay for raw materials. Why then should a speculator despair at paying for his mistakes? The difference is only that the market does not send you a regular bill. It deducts it at once, without warning, whenever you are wrong. Your choice is whether the deduction is small or ruinous. Look around at the men who have lasted in this business. None of them avoided losses. Their success lies in their ability to keep them small. They took their tuition in many installments, but each was payable, each was bearable. Each left them strong enough to continue. The men who did not last are those who tried to avoid tuition altogether. They pretended the loss was not real. They postponed payment until the sum grew beyond their means. Then the market demanded it all at once, and they were broken. You must learn to be indifferent to the small loss. Do not gloat over it. Do not mourn it. Do not carry it in your memory. Take it as naturally as breathing. Write it off at once, and return to watching the tape. The market owes you nothing, and it does not care what you have lost. The next opportunity will come, and if you still have your capital, you will be ready. That is the secret of tuition. It keeps you in the game. Big losses take you out of it. Losses are like infections. Cut them early before they spread. The first sign of infection is often small, almost invisible. A scratch, a sting, a tiny wound that could be forgotten if not for the faint throb beneath the skin. Left alone, it festers. The body's strength is drained by what began as nothing, until what was once easy to treat grows dangerous, even fatal. So it is with trading. A small loss, taken early, is nothing. It is part of the game, part of the cost of staying alive. But if you let it remain, if you refuse to act, it spreads through your account like poison through the blood. What was once a nuisance becomes a crisis. What was once easily cured becomes impossible to survive. Traders lose because they do not understand this truth. They look at the first signs of loss and dismiss them. They tell themselves the market will turn, that the stock will bounce back, that the position only needs a little time. They treat the infection as harmless. They confuse their hope for medicine. But hope does not heal a wound, and it does not stop a loss. The loss grows quietly, persistently, until it can no longer be ignored. By then it has already crippled them. The reason men let losses spread is pride. They cannot admit to themselves that they were wrong. A small loss feels like proof of failure, and the ego rebels against it. Instead of cutting, they rationalize. They invent stories about how the market will vindicate them. They cling to their opinion as though it were life itself. But the infection does not care about pride. It spreads all the same, eating through capital until nothing remains. A disciplined trader thinks differently. He knows that small losses are natural, inevitable, even healthy. He treats them as the price of business. The instant he sees that a trade has turned against him beyond his tolerance, he cuts it without delay. He does not argue. He does not bargain. He does not wait for the pain to become unbearable. He takes the loss quickly, like a surgeon cutting away diseased flesh to save the patient. The wound heals, and he lives to fight another day. There is no shame in taking a small loss. It is the mark of professionalism, of strength, of discipline. The shame is in letting it spread, in pretending you can will the market into reversing for your sake. I have watched many men fall to this weakness. They started with small mistakes that could have been brushed aside, but their pride kept them from admitting it. Soon, what was once an inconvenience became a disaster. Their accounts were gutted, their nerves shattered, their futures destroyed, and all because they could not act swiftly at the first sign of infection. Think of it this way: a trade is a living thing. Some are healthy, strong, and growing. Others are weak from the start, doomed to die. If you keep the weak ones, hoping they will recover, they drain resources from the strong. They consume your capital, your attention, your energy. They drag down your entire account, and in the end, you are left with nothing but corpses. But if you cut them quickly, you free yourself to nurture the trades that are healthy, the ones that can grow into profits. This is not cruelty. It is necessity. A farmer prunes a sick branch so the tree may live. A trader cuts a loss so his account may thrive. The infection of losses spreads not only in your account, but in your mind. When you hold on to a losing trade, you carry its weight with you everywhere. You watch every tick, every rumor, every movement of the tape, desperate for relief. Your thoughts are chained to a single position, and your judgment in all other trades is clouded. You stop seeing the market as it is, and you see only through the lens of your pain. You miss new opportunities because your eyes are fixed on the old wound. And even when a chance comes to make money, you cannot take it, because all your capital and courage are tied up in the infection you refuse to cut. Infection spreads faster than you imagine. A small loss does not stay small. The market has a way of pressing on the point of greatest weakness. The moment you hesitate, it punishes you. What begins as a 1-point loss grows to 5, then 10, then 20. Each moment of delay increases the damage. At first, cutting would have been easy. Later, it becomes impossible. You tell yourself it is too late to sell, that the worst is already behind you. But the market proves you wrong again and again. By the time you accept the truth, you are ruined. The great secret, if it can be called that, is that the pain of a small loss is nothing compared to the pain of a large one. Traders who take their small losses quickly are not hardened men without feeling. They feel the sting, but they know it will pass. They know the wound will close, and tomorrow they will be free again. Traders who let their losses spread live with torment. They carry the infection for weeks, months, sometimes years. Every day is a battle with regret, with fear, with false hope.